Stop scrolling for a moment and listen carefully, because you may have spent so much time trying to convince everyone around you that you are strong, that you have forgotten how deeply tired you really are. You smile when people are watching. You answer, "I'm fine," when someone asks how you are. You continue carrying responsibilities, even when your heart feels too heavy to carry one more thing. But I see what others do not see. I see the thoughts you keep hidden. I see the tears you quickly wipe away. I see the fear behind your decisions. I see the questions you are afraid to speak aloud. And before this message goes any further, I want you to understand this. You do not have to hide from me. Stay with me until the end, because this is not only a message of comfort. I want to give you something you can carry into your real life when fear returns, when waiting becomes difficult, and when you feel the temptation to believe that your struggles mean you have been forgotten. I know there have been moments when you looked around and wondered why everyone else seemed to be moving forward while you remained in the same difficult place. You watched doors open for others while your own door remained closed. You prayed and waited. You tried to understand. Sometimes you became tired of hoping because hope itself began to feel painful. You may have asked me, "Where are you? Why is this taking so long?" Hear me now. Your waiting has not been invisible to me. What you call delay is not always abandonment. What feels like silence is not always absence. Sometimes, while you're asking me to change your circumstances, I am strengthening something within you. Sometimes the answer you desire requires a deeper foundation than the one you have today. Sometimes I am teaching you how to stand before I ask you to carry something greater. Do not misunderstand me. I am not telling you that your pain is pleasant. I know it hurts. I know some nights have felt longer than they should. I know there are burdens that cannot be explained in a single conversation. There are wounds you carry quietly because you fear people will misunderstand you. But pain does not become meaningless simply because you cannot yet see what it is producing. Look at your life carefully. You have already survived days you once believed would destroy you. You have already walked through moments you thought you could never endure. There were mornings when you did not know how you would continue, yet somehow you continued. There were seasons when your strength seemed completely gone, yet you found enough strength for the next step. Do not ignore what those moments have taught you. You are not the same person you were before the storm. If you agree that God has carried you through moments you thought you would never survive, type Amen in the comments and let that simple declaration remind your own heart that your story did not end in the valley. Listen to me carefully now. Stop measuring your worth by the opinions of people who cannot see the whole of your life. Stop allowing rejection to become your identity. Someone walking away from you does not prove that you are unlovable. A failure does not prove that you are useless. A closed door does not prove that your future is finished. You have allowed temporary moments to speak permanent lies over your life. And today, I want you to challenge those lies. When a fearful thought enters your mind, do not simply accept it because it sounds convincing. Pause and ask yourself, is this fear telling me the truth, or is it only repeating my worst memories? When shame tells you that you will never change, remember that growth often begins with one honest decision. When anxiety tells you that nothing good can happen, return to what is in front of you and take the next faithful step. You do not have to solve your entire future tonight. You do not have to control every outcome. You do not have to know every answer before you move forward. Some of your exhaustion comes from carrying responsibilities that were never meant to be carried all at once. Breathe, slow down. Bring one concern to me at a time. Pray honestly instead of performing perfectly. You do not need impressive words to speak with me. You can come with confusion. You can come with tears. You can come when your faith feels small. My child, I am not waiting for you to become flawless before I receive you. I know your history. I know the mistakes you regret. I know the conversations you replay in your mind. I know the decisions you wish you could take back. And still, I am calling you closer, not farther away. Stop punishing yourself for every chapter that has already ended. Learn from it, yes. Take responsibility where responsibility is needed, yes. Ask forgiveness where you have caused harm, yes. But do not build a prison out of a mistake I am teaching you to leave behind. Repentance is meant to turn your heart toward a better path, not to convince you that you deserve to live forever under shame. There are parts of you that you have hidden because you fear that if people knew everything, they would reject you. But hiding does not heal the wound. Silence does not always protect the heart. Sometimes healing begins when you finally become honest about what hurts. Bring those hidden places into the light. Speak to me about them. If you need wise and trustworthy support, seek it. Do not confuse isolation with strength. There is courage in admitting that something needs healing. And as you move forward, I want you to remember this practical truth. You cannot enter a new season while gripping everything from the old one. There are thoughts you must release. There are habits you must examine. There may be relationships that require healthier boundaries. There may be routines that keep feeding your fear. Change can feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is not always a sign that you are moving in the wrong direction. Ask yourself honestly today, what am I holding on to because it is familiar, even though it is no longer helping me grow? Do not answer quickly. Sit with that question. Pray about it. Write it down if you need to. One truthful answer can become the beginning of a meaningful change. I know you want immediate transformation. You want the door to open now. You want the pain to disappear now. But many strong lies are rebuilt through small decisions repeated faithfully. Forgive one day at a time. Pray one day at a time. Refuse the lie one day at a time. Take care of the responsibility in front of you one day at a time. Do not despise small progress. A seed does not become a tree overnight, yet every day beneath the soil something is happening. I am asking you to trust that your life is not defined by this present moment alone. The chapter you are living is not the entire book. Do not place a final ending where there is still more growth, more healing, more wisdom, and more purpose ahead of you. So lift your head, release the need to understand everything before taking the next step. Stop calling yourself abandoned because you cannot yet see the destination. I have seen your tears. I have heard your prayers. I have not confused your weakness with your identity. There is still work to be done, but there is also grace for the journey. And if these words have brought peace to your heart, let this message reach someone else who may be carrying a hidden burden. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. If you feel happy and strengthened by these words and would like to support this ministry, you can use the link given below. Your support can help this message reach more hearts that are searching for hope. But do not leave yet. Stay with me until the end of this journey, because in the next part, I want to speak more deeply about the painful seasons you thought were only breaking you and show you how to stop seeing every delay as proof that your future has been denied. Your life is not over. Your pain is not your identity. And the next step may begin with something as simple and as powerful as letting me see the real you. Listen to me carefully, because I know what happens when waiting becomes longer than you expected. At first, you pray with confidence. You believe the answer is near. You look for signs of change. But when days become weeks, weeks become months, and months become years, something inside you begins to weaken. You start asking questions you never thought you would ask. You wonder whether I heard you correctly. You wonder whether you missed something. You wonder whether everyone else was right to move on while you continued to hope. And slowly, without realizing it, you may begin to interpret silence as rejection. But I want you to understand something today. Silence is not always empty. A seed beneath the ground appears inactive, yet its hidden work has already begun. Roots grow where no one can applaud them. Foundations are built before the building rises. Preparation often happens in places where the human eye cannot see. I know you have wanted visible evidence. You have wanted the problem to disappear, the relationship to heal, the opportunity to arrive, the burden to become lighter. I know you have looked at your situation and said, "Lord, how much longer?" But do not allow one unanswered question to convince you that your entire future has been abandoned. There are seasons when I change the circumstances around you, and there are seasons when I work more deeply within you. Both matter. If I gave you everything you asked for while your heart was still trapped by fear, insecurity, resentment, or the need to control everything, you might receive the blessing but lose the peace needed to carry it. So while you wait, do not waste the waiting. Ask yourself what this season is teaching you. Are you becoming more patient? Are you learning to make wiser decisions? Are you discovering patterns that must change? Are you learning to stop depending completely on the approval of other people? Are you becoming more honest about the wounds you have carried? Waiting can become a classroom when you stop seeing it only as punishment. This does not mean every painful thing that happened to you was good. Do not confuse pain with goodness. Betrayal hurts, loss hurts, disappointment hurts. There are things you experience that you never wanted, and I do not ask you to pretend that they were easy. Honesty is not a lack of faith. You can tell me, this hurts. You can admit, I am tired. You can say, I do not understand. Faith is not pretending that there is no storm. Faith is continuing to bring your heart to me while the storm is still present. My child, you have spent too much time believing that your weakness makes you unacceptable. You think you must always arrive with strength, certainty, and perfect words. But come as you are. Come when your hands are shaking. Come when your mind is confused. Come when your heart is heavy. Do not run from me because you feel ashamed of your condition. The place where you feel most broken may become the very place where you finally learn to stop pretending. There is freedom in telling the truth. Tell the truth about what you fear. Tell the truth about what you regret. Tell the truth about the habit that keeps pulling you backward. Tell the truth about the relationship that continues to wound you. Tell the truth about the dream you are afraid to pursue because failure once embarrassed you. You cannot heal what you constantly deny. And here is something practical I want you to apply today. When fear begins speaking loudly in your mind, do not let it control the entire day. Pause. Take a moment to identify the thought. Write it down if necessary. Then ask, what evidence am I using to call this thought the truth? Fear often takes one painful experience and turns it into a prediction about your entire future. Because one door closed, fear says every door will close. Because one person rejected you, fear says everyone will reject you. Because one plan failed, fear says you are a failure. Do not surrender your future to that kind of thinking. You have a choice about what you continue to repeat inside your own mind. Replace the sentence, "Nothing will ever change," with a more honest sentence, "I cannot see the whole future, but this moment does not decide everything." Replace "I am ruined" with "I have made mistakes, but I can still grow." Replace "I am alone" with "I need help, and I do not have to face everything in isolation." These are not empty words. They are practical steps toward changing the way you respond to your circumstances. If you believe that your waiting season can still produce wisdom and strength, comment, "I will keep trusting" below. Let those words become a reminder that you will not allow one difficult chapter to convince you that the whole story has ended. Now hear me, because change is coming into areas of your life where you have become comfortable simply because you are familiar with them. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar growth. You may stay in the same harmful pattern because at least you know what to expect. You may continue listening to voices that weaken you because their approval has become familiar. You may keep returning to old habits because they temporarily make you feel safe. But growth sometimes requires you to release what you once depended upon. This is why transition can feel painful. Not every loss means you have been abandoned. Not every closed door means you have failed. Sometimes a change forces you to discover strength you would never have discovered if everything remained comfortable. Do not be afraid to examine what is changing. If a relationship is changing, ask whether there is a lesson about boundaries, forgiveness, honesty, or release. If your plans are changing, ask whether you are being invited to learn a new skill or consider a direction you previously ignored. If your routine is changing, ask what kind of life you truly want to build. You do not have to rush these answers. Reflection takes time. But do not close your heart merely because the old path no longer feels certain. There is a difference between losing control and learning to surrender. You have tried to control every possible outcome because you wanted to protect yourself from disappointment. You wanted guarantees before taking a step. You wanted complete certainty before opening your heart. But life does not always offer certainty before movement. Sometimes, wisdom means preparing carefully, seeking guidance, praying honestly, and then taking the next step without possessing every answer. I am not asking you to become careless. I am asking you to stop allowing fear to disguise itself as wisdom. There are things you can do today. Make the call you have been avoiding. Apologize where you know you have caused harm. Create a healthier boundary where one is needed. Organize the responsibility you have delayed. Rest when exhaustion is making every problem appear larger than it is. Seek trustworthy counsel when you cannot see clearly by yourself. Small obedience can change the direction of a life. Do not wait for a perfect emotional moment before doing what is right. Courage often arrives after the first step, not before it. You have been looking for one enormous sign while ignoring the quiet opportunities already in front of you. Pay attention. Perhaps the next instruction is not dramatic. Perhaps it is simply to forgive. Perhaps it is to stop returning to something that repeatedly destroys your peace. Perhaps it is to begin again after failure. Perhaps it is to learn, prepare, and become ready for the opportunity you keep praying for. I have not forgotten the desires you carry. I have not ignored every prayer you prayed. But I also want to build something in you that circumstances cannot easily destroy. You are stronger than the voice of fear has allowed you to believe. You have learned through pain. You have survived through difficult seasons. You are still here, still breathing, still capable of taking another faithful step. So do not call the waiting wasted. Use this season. Grow in it. Pray in it. Learn in it. Heal in it. Prepare in it. And when the time comes for you to move, do not remain in yesterday simply because yesterday is familiar. Lift your eyes. Your future is not required to look exactly like your past. There are still things to learn, people to encourage, wounds to heal, and steps to take. There is still purpose in the life you are living right now. Stay with me until the next part, because we are going deeper. I want to speak to the shame you have carried for too long, the labels placed upon you by painful people, and the truth you must remember when your past tries to tell you who you are. You are not merely what happened to you. You are not only what you lost. You are not only the mistake you made. Your story is still moving forward, and you can begin today by releasing the lie that waiting means you have been forgotten. Listen to me now, because there is a burden you have carried for so long that you may no longer realize how much it has shaped the way you see yourself. It is the burden of shame. It follows you into new places. It sits beside you when you try to pray. It whispers to you when something good begins to happen. It tells you that you do not deserve another opportunity because you made a mistake before. It tells you that people will eventually discover who you really are and turn away. It keeps bringing yesterday into today and tries to make your past look like a permanent identity. But I want you to stop and hear this clearly. You are not required to remain the person you were when you made your greatest mistake. You may need to take responsibility for what you did. You may need to repair what can be repaired. You may need to apologize, change your behavior, learn wisdom, and accept the consequences of certain decisions. But responsibility and shame are not the same thing. Responsibility says, I did something wrong and I must face it honestly. Shame says, I am nothing but what I did. Responsibility can lead you toward growth. Shame tries to keep you trapped. Do not confuse the voice that calls you to change with the voice that tells you that you can never change. There are memories you replay because you wish you could return and make a different decision. You remember what you said. You remember what you lost. You remember the person you hurt or the moment you failed. Sometimes you imagine a different version of your life and wonder where you would be if only you had been wiser. But you cannot build today's strength by living permanently inside yesterday's regret. Learn from the past, but do not make a home there. If you wake up every morning and immediately begin punishing yourself for something that has already happened, you will have little strength left to make the choices that are still available to you. The past can teach you, but it cannot walk your next step for you. That choice belongs to the present. My child, I know the things you have never told anyone. I know the moments that still bring tears to your eyes. I know the thoughts that make you lower your head because you are afraid that your failures have made you unworthy of love. But I am not asking you to come to me with a carefully prepared version of yourself. Come honestly. Bring me the parts you have hidden. Bring me the questions. Bring me the regret. Bring me the anger you do not know how to release. Do not run from me because you believe you are too broken to be received. You do not need to hide your wound from the one who can help you begin healing it. There are people who have spoken words over you that still live inside your mind. Perhaps they called you weak. Perhaps they said you would never succeed. Perhaps they reminded you of every mistake until you began repeating their words to yourself. Maybe you were rejected at a moment when you needed support. Maybe someone made you feel that love had to be earned. But I want you to examine those labels. Who gave them the authority to define your entire life? One person's anger is not your identity. One person's rejection is not your future. One season of failure is not the final description of who you are. Stop carrying names that were placed on you by people who only knew one chapter of your story. There is practical work for you to do here. When a painful label enters your mind, write it down. Then write beside it what actually happened. If the label says, "I am a failure," replace the label with the facts. Perhaps the truth is, this attempt failed, but I can learn from it. If the label says, "No one could love me," ask whether one painful rejection has been turned into a universal conclusion. If the label says, "I will always be this way," remember that habits can change through honest decisions, consistent action, support, and patience. Truth is not always the same as the first thought that enters your mind. You have believed every accusation simply because it came from inside your own head. But thoughts are not automatically commands, prophecies, or facts. You can question them. You can refuse to build your identity around them. There is also someone you may need to forgive. Perhaps that person is easy to identify. Perhaps their name immediately comes to your mind. What they did was wrong, and forgiveness does not require you to pretend otherwise. Forgiveness does not mean that trust must instantly return. Forgiveness does not mean you must remain where you are continually harmed. Sometimes, wisdom requires boundaries and distance, but holding on to bitterness can keep you emotionally connected to a wound you are trying to leave behind. Forgiveness can begin with honesty. Say what hurt you. Admit the damage. Stop minimizing it. Then choose not to allow the injury to become the permanent ruler of your future. You may need to repeat that choice more than once. Healing is not always a single moment. Some wounds require you to return to the decision to forgive when the memory rises again. Do not condemn yourself because healing takes time. If these words speak to your heart and you're ready to stop allowing your past to define your future, comment, "I am moving forward." Let that declaration become a personal decision to step out of the prison of old labels. Now, I want you to understand something deeper. There is a difference between remembering your history and living under its control. You can remember without returning. You can learn without remaining ashamed. You can acknowledge what happened without surrendering your entire future to it. There are doors ahead of you that require a different version of your thinking. If you enter a new opportunity while constantly believing you are unworthy, you may destroy your confidence before anyone else can reject you. If you enter a healthy relationship while expecting abandonment, fear may cause you to create walls that love cannot easily cross. If you receive a new responsibility while repeating that you are incapable, you may refuse the very preparation that could help you grow. This is why inner healing matters. You have asked me to change the world around you, but I also want to heal the way you see yourself. You are not here merely to survive another day. You can grow in wisdom. You can develop discipline. You can learn healthier ways of speaking, thinking, resting, working, and responding. Do not use your past as an excuse to remain trapped in patterns that you have the power to begin changing. Start with one area. If your words are destructive, practice speaking with greater care. If your mind constantly returns to fear, create a daily moment for prayer and truthful reflection. If your life has become disorganized, begin with one responsibility instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything. If you are carrying a wound alone, reach toward trustworthy support. If you have been avoiding a necessary decision, stop asking for perfect confidence and take the first wise step. Small choices matter because repeated choices slowly become a direction. I know you want your whole life to change at once, but transformation often begins quietly. It begins when you stop lying to yourself about what needs attention. It begins when you stop blaming everyone else for a decision you are able to change. It begins when you accept grace without using grace as permission to remain the same. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to become wiser than you were. You are allowed to build a future that does not repeat every pattern from your past. Do not fear the process of becoming. There may be moments when growth feels uncomfortable because old habits will call you back. Familiar thinking will try to return. Fear will tell you that change is impossible. But remember this, you do not need to return to the old version of yourself simply because it is familiar. There is still more ahead. Stay with me until the next part, because I want to speak to the places where you have tried to control everything. I want to show you why surrender is not weakness and why releasing what you cannot control can open your heart to peace, wisdom, and the courage to take the next step. Today, release one old label, release one accusation, release one memory from the position of authority over your life. You are not the worst thing that happened to you. You are not the worst decision you ever made. You are not finished. Your story is still being written, and the next chapter does not have to repeat the previous one. Listen to me carefully, because one of the greatest reasons your heart has been exhausted is that you have been trying to control things that were never placed entirely in your hands. You have tried to predict every outcome before it happens. You have imagined every possible problem. You have replayed conversations that have not even taken place. You have worried about tomorrow while still carrying unfinished pain from yesterday. And because you cannot control every person, every decision, every opportunity, and every outcome, you have begun to feel powerless. But surrender is not the same as giving up. Surrender does not mean that you stop caring about your life. It does not mean that you become careless, refuse responsibility, or wait passively for everything to change. True surrender means recognizing the difference between what you can faithfully do and what you must release. It means doing your part with wisdom while refusing to destroy your peace by trying to control what belongs beyond your reach. There are things you can change. You can change the way you respond. You can change the habits you continue to practice. You can choose healthier boundaries. You can apologize when you have done wrong. You can prepare for opportunities. You can seek wisdom. Listen to me now, because you have reached a point where you can no longer continue living as though your past has the authority to decide your future. You have carried enough fear. You have spent enough nights questioning your worth. You have looked back long enough at the doors that closed, the people who left, the plans that failed, and the mistakes you wish you could erase. Today, I want you to understand that your life cannot move forward while your heart remains permanently imprisoned by what has already happened. This is your moment to become honest about what you want to carry into the next season and what you must finally leave behind. You may not know every detail of what comes next. You may not have a complete plan. You may still have questions. But uncertainty does not mean you have no future. A road can exist before you see the entire distance. The next step can be real even when the final destination is hidden from your eyes. Do not demand that your whole life become clear before you begin moving. Take the next step. That may sound simple, but simple obedience can become the beginning of a completely different life. You have spent so much time searching for one great answer that you have sometimes ignored the small answers already placed before you. You know that a conversation needs to happen. You know that a habit needs to change. You know that a responsibility needs your attention. You know that your body and mind need rest. You know that a wound needs honest healing. You know that fear has kept you from beginning something important. Do not wait for a perfect emotional feeling before you do what you already know is necessary. Sometimes the answer you are asking me for is connected to an action you have been avoiding. I am not asking you to become perfect. I am asking you to become willing. My child, willingness opens a door that fear tries to keep closed. When you say, I am willing to learn, you stop pretending that you already know everything. When you say, I am willing to change, you stop defending the patterns that are hurting you. When you say, I am willing to forgive, You begin loosening the chains of bitterness. When you say, "I am willing to begin again," you refuse to allow failure to become your final identity. Willingness is powerful because it gives growth permission to begin. Perhaps you are entering a season that feels unfamiliar. Part of you is excited, but another part is afraid. You may wonder whether you are ready. You may question whether you have enough strength. Remember that readiness is not always the absence of fear. Sometimes you are ready because you have learned enough to take the next step, even while your hands are still shaking. Do not wait until fear completely disappears. Fear may speak, but it does not have to lead. You have survived enough to know that difficult moments can be faced. You have learned enough to know that mistakes can become teachers. You have been carried through enough to know that one painful season is not the end of your story. So stop saying, "I cannot move because I am afraid." Say instead, "I am afraid, but I can still choose the next wise step." That is where courage begins. And as you enter what comes next, do not forget what you have learned. Do not return to the same patterns simply because they are familiar. Do not abandon the healing you have begun because the old version of yourself feels easier to understand. Growth will sometimes make you uncomfortable. New boundaries may disappoint people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. A healthier life may require you to say no where you once said yes, simply to avoid rejection. Let wisdom guide you more than guilt. You do not owe everyone access to your peace. You do not need to keep explaining your healing to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You do not need to return to every place that hurt you just to prove that you are strong. Sometimes strength is walking away. Sometimes strength is staying quiet. Sometimes strength is asking for help. Sometimes strength is refusing to repeat a destructive pattern. Sometimes strength is beginning again without announcing every detail of your journey. There is a future version of you that is being built through the decisions you make today. Every small act of honesty matters. Every healthy boundary matters. Every moment you refuse to believe an old lie matters. Every time you choose prayer instead of panic, wisdom instead of impulse, truth instead of shame, you are helping build a different direction. Do not despise the small steps. You may not see the complete transformation immediately, but repeated faithfulness changes things. One day of discipline may seem small. One honest prayer may seem small. One apology may seem small. One healthy decision may seem small. But a life is often changed through small choices that are repeated until they become part of who you are. You have wanted restoration, and restoration can begin in places you least expect. Sometimes it begins inside your own mind when you stop agreeing with every fearful thought. Sometimes it begins in a relationship when truth is finally spoken. Sometimes it begins when you accept that a closed chapter cannot be reopened in the same way and choose to create a healthier future. Restoration is not always returning to exactly what you lost. Sometimes restoration is becoming stronger because of what you lost. Sometimes it is receiving wisdom you did not possess before. Sometimes it is discovering peace after releasing the need to control every outcome. Sometimes it is finding your voice after years of silence. Sometimes it is realizing that the life you thought was finished is still capable of producing beauty. Do not limit your future to one picture you created years ago. I can lead you through change. I can meet you in unfamiliar places. I can give you strength for a chapter you have never lived before. But you must stop demanding that tomorrow look exactly like yesterday. There are things you may need to release so your hands can become open again. Release the need for revenge. Release the need to understand every unanswered question. Release the need to prove yourself to everyone. Release the habit of comparing your journey to someone else's. Release the belief that you are permanently disqualified because of your past. You have carried some of these burdens for so long that freedom may initially feel unfamiliar, but do not return to the prison simply because you recognize its walls. Choose freedom again. When the old thought returns, choose truth again. When fear rises, return to prayer again. When shame tries to accuse you, remember that you are more than your worst moment. When waiting becomes difficult, remember that you can still grow where you are. When the future feels uncertain, Return to the next step instead of trying to control the entire journey. This is how you live the message you have heard. Not by listening once and forgetting tomorrow, but by applying it. Begin your morning with honesty. Ask, what am I carrying today that I need to release? Ask, what is one wise action I can take? Ask, what lie have I been repeating about myself? Then answer with truth. Do not make this complicated. Your life does not need one dramatic moment before healing can begin. Healing can begin with honesty. Change can begin with one decision. Peace can begin when you stop fighting battles that are beyond your control. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not defined by rejection. You are not only your mistakes. You are not finished. I have seen the tears you did not explain. I have seen the strength you used simply to survive. I have seen the moments when you wanted to give up but continued. And I want you to remember this when you leave this message. The difficult season you have lived through does not have the authority to tell you that nothing good can come after it. There is still life ahead of you. There are still lessons you can learn. There are still relationships that can be approached with greater wisdom. There are still opportunities for you to prepare for. There are still people you can encourage because you understand what it means to struggle. Your pain may become part of the compassion you offer someone else. Your survival may become hope for a person who believes they cannot survive their own season. Do not waste what you have learned. Carry the wisdom forward, but leave the chains behind. If this message has reached your heart and you are ready to step forward with faith, type Amen, I will not go back in the comments. Let those words mark a decision that you will no longer live as a prisoner of fear, shame, or yesterday. And if these words have brought you comfort, strength, or hope, like this video, subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who may need to hear this message today. If you feel happy and encouraged by these words and would like to support my ministry, the support link is given below. Your support helps this ministry continue sharing messages of faith, hope, healing, and encouragement with more people. Now go forward with a lighter heart. Do not expect every day to be easy, but remember what you have learned when difficulty returns. Breathe before panic speaks. Pray before fear takes control. Tell the truth about what hurts. Take responsibility without becoming trapped in shame. Release what you cannot control. Forgive without abandoning wisdom. Prepare for what is ahead. Take one faithful step at a time. And when you feel weak again, do not believe that weakness means the journey has failed. Return, pray, rest, learn, begin again. You are still becoming. You are still growing. You are still capable of healing. And the chapter ahead does not have to repeat the chapter behind. So lift your eyes and walk forward. The past may explain some of your pain, but it does not own your future. Release what must be released. Receive the grace to continue. Use the wisdom you have gained. And step into tomorrow knowing that your story is still moving, your purpose is still unfolding, and your life still has meaning.